So what? There were three pillars, right, of the customs broker exam. One of them is entry, which we haven't covered yet. Another one is customs broker responsibilities, which we went through already. And the third one is classification. Yes, classification. Why are they pillars? Because they consistently show up on customs broker exam in great numbers, and you will not be able to pass the exam without knowing how they are. And unfortunately, unlike Code of Federal Regulation portion, which is customs broker responsibility pillar and entry pillar, a lot of the questions over here, they really have no straightforward answer. And a lot of them are tricky. And a lot of them require you to kind of analyze without having a straightforward, say, A, B, C, or D. So the whole concept of classification is like a worst nightmare for many students and for many customs brokers, because why is classification important? What is the core? If you are the licensed customs broker, what is the core of your profession, if you will? One of them is making entries. Making entries and clearing through customs, right? That's a major portion. That's what the bread and butter of the customs broker profession. The second one, also as important, is determining how much duty you will pay. And arguably that is even more important portion, because clearing entry 1, 2, 3, once you get the drill, is easy, right? But determining what type of duty applies, how much money you will pay for the product to arrive, is not only a question of fact, right? It's where you have A, B, C, D, E, but it's also a question of law. Sometimes it's a fluid question where you have to determine, well, how should I classify, for example, this marker? Should I classify it as a writing utensil or article of plastic? Because clearly a marker is made out of plastic. And why shouldn't I classify it as plastic, but rather than a writing instrument? What are the concepts? And those are concepts, they are written broadly. And because they are written broadly, sometimes for students who come in and sit in an exam and have unfair amount of time, and well, unfair in my point of view, customs thinks it's very fair, but 2 minutes 45 seconds sometimes it's just not enough to analyze all this stuff. So this is one of the areas where many students, knowing all the other stuff, they constantly get a lot of those answers wrong. So the goal ever since we started, the goal has been to slowly introduce you to the structure of the HTSUS. From the day one, I asked everyone to review the HTSUS chart, where they had chapter breakdowns, they had chapter names. Then slowly, slow bit by bit, I started introducing the. Did you sign in, ma'am? Did you sign in? Sign in? Yeah, pass it back. I started introducing the chapter, the concepts of what composes the harmonized tariff schedule, because harmonized tariff schedule determines the duty. Once you know the classification, or also called harmonized tariff schedule, you will know the duty. And you will not only know the duty, you will know also a bunch of other things. You will know whether particular free trade agreement applies, such as NAFTA, such as Colombia Free Trade Agreement, such as Ecuador Free Trade Agreement. You will know whether other agencies have jurisdiction over the item, because a lot of those agencies also have some kind of pinpoint HTS code assigned as far as jurisdiction is concerned, of course for convenience purposes only. So so knowing HTS is a key, and because it's so important, it has been always tested. It has always comprised a huge part of the customs broker examination. So now I think we're in a good shape to, after having reviewed the general structure and after having reviewed the where the stuff are, okay, to actually start using it. So let me open up. And the way we're gonna do it is this. I'm just gonna do one sample question and just talk through it loudly. What are the considerations that I'm thinking? And then I'm gonna dive into the theory which stands behind this. And the theory is important because it is applicable to every single question. There are minor exceptions, just like with everything else in the world. But the theory is so important because it provides you with a general framework of analysis, which if you apply, if you don't jump the gun with the precept that this is the correct answer, because somewhere in statistical heading it says so, but you actually go through the analysis, I think you will be better off than many. So let me open up to the Harmonized Tariff Schedule and start our analysis of this question. And if you'd like to follow me, open up to your own HTSUSs, or you can just sit back, relax, and watch, because I'm not going, unlike other classes, I decided not to put the stress upon you with all those practice quiz questions at the beginning. Having said that, that is rather an exception than a general rule. Okay. So I go to the official HTSUS website, which is managed by what agency? David, what agency manages Harmonized Tariff Schedule of the United States? A hint, it's the same one that manages, that takes part in anti-dumping duty determination. It's not really. It's actually an independent agency. Independent agency called International Trade Commission. Yes, that's the one. So, see, and what they do, popular topics. The top popular topic is anti-dumping, countervailing duty investigation. But we're not concerned with that, at least not for now. What we're concerned with is the very real question which came out from customs broker exam. I believe it was several years ago. And customs examiners asked you, the exam takers, about the classification of coiled flat springs from sheet metal. In parentheses, they say stainless steel, that have property of returning to their original form even after considerable displacement. So what are they talking about is, you know those springs, right? Yeah. And you put them in, I don't know, into the, if you have the sprayer, you would have that spring inside because it controls the cap for the valve, for example. It is used in many other applications. It is used in an elevator shaft. Yeah. Okay. It is used. It is even used in a pen. So it's a common. It's a common item. It is used in many things throughout. So it's a very relevant question to ask. So the idea here is to underline relevant facts. And what are the relevant facts? What do we need to know? Well, first of all, we know that this is a classification. That's kind of relevant, right? But we know that because we provide a bunch of numbers. Second is to look for the keywords, what's called the buzzwords that may be helpful. And the buzzwords, and customs examiners, they are not nice in this area because they can provide you the words that you think are buzzwords, right? But they're just to distract you, just to throw you off. And that is not good. right? Because you will be going into the wrong direction. But what can you do? This is our customs examiners. They're just doing their job to make it more challenging for you guys. But actually, in real life, they're probably very nice people. So when, with keeping this positive thoughts, you approach this question of thinking, okay, you have this item which is made out of stainless steel. Is stainless steel important? You bet it is. Why is it important? Because the way Harmonized Tariff Schedule is structured, I kind of don't like this hanging out there. Okay. Does everyone know the name for this product? The plastic? It's called a cable tie. It also I believe it also showed up on the exam, right? But let's focus on the classification of the spring, right? The way the chapter for metals, and we're dealing with a section 15, base metals and articles of base metal. We're told it is made out of stainless steel, right? So the way it is formed is it begins with the type of metal involved. So you kind of have to be, in a way, a geologist, or in a way of a scientist, because you kind of have to think what, and this happens all the time. You ask the client, what is it made of? Oh, it is made out of metal. And you always say, okay, you gotta be kidding me. What type of metal? Oh, I don't know, does it matter? Who cares? It's made out of metal. Well, it does matter, because you have to figure out what type of metal it is of. So if it's made out of iron or steel, it is either chapter 72 or 73. How do we know whether it's chapter 72? Or it can also be as a tool, right? Now this is for all other base metals. It means all others that are not listed here. But see, here we have a special metals chapter for tools, and we have a miscellaneous articles of base metals. One example of the article which is listed here would be the door hinge. Everyone sees the door hinge, which holds the door. It would be miscellaneous article. So in this situation, you wouldn't really care how much, as long as it's base metal, right? What is not base metal? Well, how would you know that? Well, you look for definition, and the definition is found because you are dealing with a question that of the whole section. You are looking at the section notes, and once you check, you will find that base metal is anything which is not precious metal. Well, the next question is, what is precious metal? Can someone give me one example of precious metal? Gold. Okay, very good. Gold. That's right. Platinum. Yes, silver. There you go. 3. So there is like palladium. There is other ones, but those are the common knowledge. Gold. Is gold a precious metal? Well, anyone who watched Lord of the Rings would probably know that. But this is not a movie review, so let's go back. We're told, customs examiners tell us that this is stainless steel spring. So what we're doing is we are in this category without even looking at the answers. What we need to realize is we need to realize general principles of the Harmonized Tariff Schedule drafters, which put more basic stuff at the beginning and more complex stuff at the end. What would be the more basic stuff? How about concrete holding steel bars? Anyone drives on a highway and sees construction sites? Anyone sees these concrete bars sticking out from the about to be constructed bridges or the walls? Okay, those are more basic. They just bars, right? They don't need elaborate. I mean, they have maybe ribs into them, right? But they are very basic stuff. So most likely they will be here. But other articles, such as other metal articles, were. How about just a ring for this binder, right? It's kind of, it has a mechanism, it opens, right? It's kind of more on a further made side, right? You have to be more elaborate. You have to have a more elaborate design. So it's more likely to be in the chapter 73. So the spring itself, is it more elaborate article or less elaborate article? This is a question. It has property of returning to the original form even after considerable displacement. You squeeze it, it still goes out. More likely it's more elaborate because you kind of have to think not only about the shape, you have to think about the temperature at which you form the spring itself. You have to think about when the metal cools, it has to remain certain characteristics, so the cooling has to be at a certain rate. And the shape itself also has to conform to the specifications. So probably it is 73. So again, there is no, and this is why it's so difficult, because there is no bright lines of what's basic, what's not basic. To some people, they may think, oh, this is basic stuff. What's not basic? Well, how about a paint roller frame, right? Paint roller frame made out of steel. That's pretty. How about a ladder, right? That's not basic. Compared to the ladder, this is pretty basic stuff. So it's really not, there is no hard and fast rule for this. And you kind of have to develop this feeling through practice. So we're given 5 answer choices. And we know it's made out of stainless steel. It's extruded probably out of sheet metal, right? So it's stainless steel. It's coiled, flat spring, okay. And they have this property. So you know the facts, okay? You know some relevant facts, which is stainless steel. It's a good starting point. So this is probably applicable. And you know they have some characteristics, right? They have physical characteristics, such as the shape, and they have other physical properties such as returning. Whether it's relevant or which one is relevant, we do not know until we actually open up the book, right? However, if you develop the feeling, and you are pressed on time, if you think that this is a more complex part of the Harmonized Tariff Schedule rather than more simple, you can immediately start from here. It doesn't mean that you may be wrong, right? But if you start from here and you find out that you are right, meaning chapter 73 rather than chapter 72, that means you can save yourself more time. If you are wrong, it's okay. You can always go back. See, that's the strategy. And as I said, the strategy also it's helpful to kind of go back and remind ourselves that the 70, let's take 72, 22, 20, 00. Notice, customs gave us a break here because